What it do, comic babies? I'm Bunkmaster B, and today we're talking about one of my absolute favorite thing in all of comics, and that is super large, oversized comics. You guys have probably seen, I'm a little bit of an original art collector, and I love comics that show art pieces kind of as large as we can get to the original pieces, because I think, you know, the thing that's shocking, that's so beautiful about the medium we all love is the amazing art paired with the wonderful stories. And obviously, one of the foremost pioneers of that format is the DC Absolutes. These are some of my absolute favorite books that exist. They're big. Their presentation is wonderful. They come in a slipcase, which I don't want to like slipcases because they're just like extra cardboard, but they got me, man. But everybody knows how cool Absolutes are, so I don't want to talk about that. You can go watch someone else's video about Absolutes. Today, we're talking about some of my favorite super oversized, and by that, I mean anything, sort of broad stance that's bigger than an omnibus, or a sort of oversized hardcover conditions. Mostly, we're going for things that are close to the size of an Absolute, but everything's going to be slightly different, and we're mostly focusing on books from smaller publishers. So let's check it out. All right. So first up is actually all the books we're not going to talk about. Surprise! I got you. So I said we're going to talk about some big oversized books that aren't DC Absolutes. And here are some other books we're not going to talk about. Marvel Gallery editions. They're big. They're cool. Not talking about them. Image. Super oversized books. Specifically, Remender books. They're all super big. They're all super cool. Not talking about them. Dark Horse Library editions. Specific shout out to Ether, Matt Kent, David Rubin. This book is amazing. I love this book. Highly suggest checking this out, especially in the library format. But we're not doing that here. You know what else we're not talking about? Parker Martini edition. This book is awesome. Highly suggest you check it out, but, not talking about it here. Dynamite's Gail Simone Red Sonja Omnibus. I didn't realize when this one was first solicited that it's actually, they call it an omnibus. It's closer to the size of an absolute. It's really big. Super cool story. It's Gail Simone. She talked about how this kind of reinvigorated her love of comics after she kind of got burned out on doing stuff with DC and superheroes. This book is cool, but we're not talking about it. Hip Hop Family Tree by Ed Piskor. If you know him from Cartoonist Kayfabe, this is one of his main projects he's done. It's less a story as it is a visual history, but I'm not going to tell you about it because that's not here. And lastly, you know what else we're not talking about? You know what else we're not talking about? This bad boy right here. This is The Complete Life and Times, Scrooge McDuck by Don Rosa. Let's see if I can open this up without knocking the camera over. Yeah. Oh, look at this book. Look at how big, look at how beautiful this is. This right here, that number one dime, it's a real coin that's in set. Oh, it's beautiful. But we're not talking about it. All right, so the first book we're actually talking about in this format is this guy right here. What is this? This isn't a book. It's a coffin. You're right. This is right here, The Sixth Gun from Oni Press, written by Cullen Bunn and illustrated by Brian Hurt. This is right here, the Gunslinger edition. So in addition to being this big, oversized format, as you can see, it comes with this super cool slipcase that's magnetic. And check this out. So on the outside, the book, it's all chained up. So this is it's a coffin. Is a undead guy. And on the inside, you can see the scratch marks. That's super cool. So on the inside, you can see it has some exclusive prints that come with it right there. And then you can see that this is not the sort of printed cover for the deluxe edition. They're the exact same size, these Gunslinger editions, as the deluxe editions. These ones are just limited. They're signed and numbered. They have those really big slip cases. So you can see right here, we've got signatures from everybody. We've got this print here that's there. It's numbered, so I have number 716 out of 1,000. But really what this is a big, fun Western adventure. It's not quite pulp, but it's sort of, classic B-movie. And you can see right here, we've got printed that same print that we have there. John Layman from Chew writes a foreword here about how he doesn't read comics anymore, but he reads this because he loves it, because it's like Indiana Jones. And it's this really cool Western supernatural adventure. I mean, you can see kind of these classic tropes. You see these hanged men. You see them, all talking about it. You get this kind of prophecy. And they're talking to Drake Sinclair. He's coming. And they give it, a lot of classic tropes here. And it's Cullen Bunn. So, you've got some horror elements that are going in there. This, I believe, came out before Westworld. So if you're seeing that blue dress and that's where you're thinking, I think this was before. And then whole premise of this is there are 6 basically magical guns in this world that each of them have some sort of special properties. And that's actually what on the cover here these represent. And when brought together, there's some kind of special magical power that they have. And so it's this collection quest. It's not quite a MacGuffin quest where there's one thing that they're looking for, but they're going all out. And there's, obviously there are forces that are, looking for these guns because they're super powerful. And all the while you get these cool high stakes gunfights. I love Brian Hurt's artwork. He also did The Damned, if you know that one. It's just such a fun story. It's this big fun adventure, and again, you get these supernatural elements. You get the past catching up with different characters. You get these the general, and get these big undead monster moments. Series is great. It's made up of 6 of these big deluxe editions that you see right here. You don't need to get the Gunslingers. You can probably find the deluxes for pretty cheap, but 6 gun, Oni Press, Cullen Bunn, Brian Hurt. Check it out. Big thumbs up from me. All right, next up is the Grande Odalesque. One thing I didn't do before is going to show the dimensions. So this is a standard size trade paperback compared to it. So you can see it's a whole lot bigger. So this is out from Fantagraphics. It is a translation of a French story. It was originally done by Bastien Vivet, Florent Rupert, and Jérôme Mulot. I probably got all of those wrong. Je suis désolé. But this one right here, this one really feels like kind of a mid-2000s heist film. Like this would have gone right along with an Ocean's 11 kind of thing. And it's this big stylized heist that you get where these 2 women have a thieving ring where they steal high-priced art, and you can see they're breaking in right here. They're taking the painting, cutting it out of the actual frame, and as you might guess from the name of it, we go forward, and they get a job where they need to steal the painting, the La Grande Odalesque, from the Louvre. And so it's all of your kind of classic heist tropes where they need to go assemble a team, because this is more than a two-man job, and they've typically always worked as a two-man job. Well, two-women job. And so it's, you get your classic assembling the team, you get the intel, you get prepping it, and they need to collect the weapons from everything. And it's just this really sort of fun, look at that. Sweet motorcycle flip. Fun, series, all the while with this kind of dreamy, painted look that doesn't really look like anything else that's coming out from American comics. So this one, very fun. It came out a few years ago. I believe it's its sequel, and I can't remember what that's called right now. If I can figure out how to do like a flashing graphic, I'll put that up. Just came out last year, and I'm really excited to check that out. But it's pretty short. You can see I don't want to give anything away, so I'm just going to kind of flip to the back right there. But it's a really quick read. So much of this book is just these kind of beautiful scenes that you get right there. Not a ton of dialogue. It's really about sort of the flow of the story and the action more than it is anything else. So this team was super fun. This I would say is all of these books are really fun. This is one of the really fun ones, but definitely check this one out, The Grande Odalesque. All right, so next we've got Sullivan Sluggers. This one's written by Mark Andrew Smith and art by James Stokoe, who I absolutely adore. Stokoe you may know from Orphan and the Five Beasts. He also did Godzilla: The Half-Century War, and I believe Aliens: Dead Earth was the name of the series. So he's done quite a bit. This is one of his earlier works, and it is a really silly. By the way, it comes in this cool slipcase. And the slipcase comes with this print right here, and I mean this tells you basically what you need to know, and then this cool set of cards. So this book right here, as you can kind of guess from the cover and that print that you saw right there, is basically the story of a baseball team fighting a whole bunch of monsters. Once again, dimensions of the books compared to the trade paperback. And so when I was reading this one, it really felt like this was an 80s horror action comedy. Kind of like you think of Evil Dead 2, or you think of stuff like House. You don't really see it too much anymore, but it's those big, gory, schlocky, like horror films that are also kind of funny, and they have these comedic elements to it. It really feels like that's what this one is. So there's basically a team called the Dragons of washed up baseball players who have been going around. A lot of these guys used to be legends of the game, but for one reason or another, none of them are really doing anything with their lives anymore. And so they're on this baseball team, and basically they get called out to different small towns so that a lot of these small town teams can basically say that they played against the best, and they're playing off the name value. And so this one of these places that they end up going is this town, and of course you get the Hanged Man imagery where they're going in, and surprise, surprise, town isn't quite what it seems. You're going through, town's mostly abandoned. This is weird. They go out, they play some baseball. And it turns out while they're there, that the town, all the people, when it becomes night, they are all cursed to become monsters. And what do monsters do? They attack and they feed on flesh. And so it becomes this story of the baseball team fighting against these monsters. Because it's James Stokoe, there's a ton of just really sort of silly gore elements. It's a gory book, but it's almost like cartoon violence. if you read Orphan and the Five Beasts, it's a lot of that same kind of thing where it's just this really sort of over the top, almost comedic violence and gore that you get from it. This book never takes itself too seriously, except for maybe one part where they're kind of explaining how the curse got in there. And I mean, I feel like that's a genre trope. You see the same thing in a lot of those same movies that I was referencing where, you know, this is what happened and it's this big story. And it's just like, all right, whatever, guys. We're not here for you to tell your story with that. So this particular book, beautiful James Stokoe art. It's definitely early in his career. Like when you look at Orphan, there's so much intricate detail, and just his line work is just on another level from this. Like you can tell that there's something there, but just, you know, you look at something like this, you look at these skulls right here, and he's doing a lot of his kind of characteristic line work that he's doing to kind of give some details, but he's not there yet. He doesn't have that crispness that he's going to develop over there. It's definitely more cartoony. Not a bad thing. This book is awesome, and it is very, very sort of over the top, ghouly. If you are not a big fan of violence, definitely skip this book. But if you are looking for a bloody good time, I know, I hate Me Too. This is definitely one to check out. So, Sullivan, Sluggers, check it out. All right, and the last book that we're going to talk about today is maybe the reason that I'm doing this whole video. This is The Squitter, a book by my buddy, Ben Templesmith. Ben Templesmith, for those that don't know, he was the artist behind 30 Days of Night. It was probably the biggest one that most people would know him from. My favorite book that he did was, he did a book called Fell with Warren Ellis. That was excellent. Really loved that. And Ben's a guy super interesting. Met him a few years ago at a Comic-Con. I'm part of his Patreon. And he's just really interesting guy. And this right here is a book that he crowdfunded. And of course, I had to get mine illustrated. So we talked, the Grande Odalesque feels like kind of a mid-2000s heist film. Sullivan Sluggers feels like it's an 80s action horror comedy. This one right here feels very much like a 90s character-driven action film. You know, like when I'm reading this, I feel like this would have fit right in next to Blade or something like that. And you got a few different things going on with this one. So this is a before time, so you get the small art. And our main character, the Squitter, he's part of this this Space Marine team. They've been specially bred to eliminate this squid menace. The Earth is being attacked by these humongous giant squids. Ben loves squids a lot. Squids, krakens, he loves drawing all of that. And this was basically an excuse for him to just draw a whole bunch of that. And it works really well. So very beginning, the Space Marines, they get killed by this particular force. We go in the future, and the squids have taken over. And the human race is scattered. They are, the squids have, basically enslaved the human race. We get this squid cult here where, they're worshiping the great squid. And we get these awesome, her hands holding up there. Just a lot of, classic showcases for Ben's artwork and kind of the things that he likes to do. Again, we get all the tentacles. We get this in this cult scene. We get a sacrifice. And the color work here is great too. So the way that Ben does his stuff is he paints everything that you see here. So he works everything in physical. He paints it all with watercolors and gouache. And then he'll scan everything in, and then he'll put like different filtering and different digital coloring effects in. But he uses a lot of different sort of contrasting colors and different cross pages. So we get kind of these cool blues over here on this scene, kind of establish this feeling, and then we immediately contrast with this bright explosion, these reds. And you get a lot of kind of juxtapositions of that, where you kind of get these feelings. You'll kind of go, from these grays or these greens and yellows of sort of more peaceful times, and that kind of slows things down. And you get those blues, and then it's immediately interspersed with these reds, and he uses the colors so well to kind of fit the tone. And then this is our titular Squitter. And of course, they're bringing him in to meet with the boss, and so there's this big action shootout and tons of genre tropes in here. I mean, you can tell that he was having a lot of fun with this. The book is super fun. It's a showcase for Ben's artwork. There's so many things that he's, that are in here basically because he wanted an excuse to draw it. And I think one of the things that he does too is he plays with the size of each page pretty well. So, I mean, you saw at the very beginning in the kind of flashback scene, it's much smaller. And when you open it up, you're like, wait, why is it even printed on that? And then you realize, like, that's to help establish that this is a flashback. And then a lot of the kind of main scenes, you don't get it full out to the page. But he uses out to the panel to kind of establish the important parts of the page. So, we'll get these full page splashes there. We will get within here where panels won't take up the full size of it, but we'll get one panel that does to really establish the important part. And then, of course, it wouldn't be a good action movie without the hero teaming up with with someone who's not like him. And so we get this this former squid priest, and by the way, this is, I mean, you look at her design where she's got the tentacles coming out as antlers, just super cool. This is the Squitter. It was self-published by Ben Templesmith. You might still be able to get copies on his website. I love this book. It's so silly. It's a big, stupid action movie that uses color really well. And again, it's just an excuse for Ben to draw stuff that he wants to. And you get, this cool villainess who's, she's trying to usurp the great squid and try and take the power for herself. And all the while you get the gruff action hero. I mean, look at that. No one understands him. He has to birth his own sword. And it's just a lot of stuff like that. So this book is awesome. Love this book. Highly suggest. And thanks for sticking around. So if you got this far, let me know. What other humongous book should I be picking up? Obviously, we went through a whole bunch at the very beginning that we weren't talking about. But if there are any smaller books that are great showcases and are something I should check out, let me know. I'd love to see them. But until then, I've been Bunkmaster B. You have all been amazing. Stay awesome.